What's happening, YouTube? Let's do another coffee talk. Where are we at now? Episode 7? I think this is episode 7. I lost count already. Well, good morning. I got a cup of coffee. I don't have really much on the plate to talk about today, so this is just going to be no idea where this is going to wind up kind of stuff. Start here and end up somewhere way over here. The only thing I can think of to talk about right now is a question that I've gotten a few times in the past since I've been doing this here on YouTube, and that's can you do a demonstration of synthesizer X, or talk about one synthesizers that you have. And for the most part, no, I don't do that. And the reason why I don't do that is because I don't find that there's a whole lot of value in me doing that for you. What can I say? I come from an old-fashioned, old-school mentality. We use the words RTFM, and I'm not going to say what that means. Maybe later I'll get into it a little bit more, but that is pretty much my attitude for the most part. And I think that what you put into it is what you get out of it. And if you let someone else show you everything and how to do everything, you're not really going to learn the really good stuff. Now, in a previous episode, I mentioned that I was taught MIDI. Well, that wasn't completely true. I was actually given the access to the facilities, and I had an instructor who was there that could give us an itinerary that we could go down the line. But I actually had to learn it myself. You might recall I mentioned I was on the verge of failing, and I had to sit down and put my nose to the grindstone and actually really learn this stuff. And nobody but me did that. So a little extreme, perhaps. Definitely, I like to help people, though. That's the other side of the coin. Coffee. So it is a little bit of a catch-22 there, where I do enjoy and helping people, and I don't want to see people being frustrated and failing. I would rather see people succeed. At the same time, feed a man a fish kind of thing. There's a funny one that I like to tell people. If you start a fire for a man, you'll keep him warm for the night. But if you set that man on fire, you'll keep him warm for the rest of his lifetime. A little dark humor for you there. I'm not really a fan of dark humor, but that one I think is pretty good because, everybody's heard these. How many times have you heard this stuff over and over and over? Right? And at what point does it finally kick in? When you finally realize, oh, okay. One of the things that happened to me in the past couple of years was I crossed the Rubicon. And by God, I tried so very hard to grasp onto the old me that's on the other side of that Rubicon so that I can better explain to people how electricity works. But sure enough, it slips right away. And as you start to realize what reality truly is, the old magical person that you used to be is gone. And what do you know that? Well, with great power comes great responsibility. What that can mean is you can lose your creative edge. Possibly? I don't think so. As Adam Neely once said, he doesn't know anybody out there personally that he's talked to who has learned musical theory that regretted it. And that's how I feel about learning electronics. I pulled back the curtain, I saw the wizard for what it is, and now even more so, I don't want to do product reviews, even though I feel like I could do a better job than I could before. One of the things that I'm most interested in, though, are all the things that they don't talk about that a device can do, as well as talking about interfacing devices. And I don't mean interfacing a device with the DAW through your computer where it's just a lot of configuration. You're going through a computer screen and clicking a mouse and picking menus and options and so forth, and maybe typing in a few values. No, I mean actually physical hardware devices and connecting them together in interesting ways. Now, I've already done this 100 times already, over and over in my past videos. You can go back, and I didn't explain what I was doing. This was all just sort of personal experiments for myself to see, like, oh, okay, how does CV gate work? in this instance? How does clocking a bandsaw work in this instance remotely? Doing some construction to this house across the street. Not sure what they're doing though. Probably adding some new parts or whatever. Okay, but anyways. So yeah, there's a lot of product reviews out there, and I kind of feel like, you know, they get kind of soulless. You know what I mean? And things start to become self-perpetuating. So if you're a gear reviewer, you need gear to review. And if there's not new gear coming out, right? Also, if there is new gear coming out, I mean, as a gear reviewer, you have to get that new gear. So how do you ever become satisfied with the gear that you have if you're constantly reviewing gear? It is a real conundrum, as you can see. Now, I don't have an answer on how to cure gas. I'm probably the last person to talk to about that. But I do have pretty much everything that I want musically right now. I want to hang on to it and use it on a daily basis as much as I can. For me, just having all of these devices on a shelf, and even if they're powered on and you can walk up and maybe play them and hear a sound coming from some speaker source, that's not good enough. They all need to be interfaced together, able to be sequenced, and get some kind of final product out of it. And I'm doing all of this without using a computer, and I really don't advertise that much. In fact, I don't advertise hardly anything at all about what I do, not even these talks. If you notice, like, I don't put what the topic is in the title. I rarely make thumbnails for anything. You know, it's not worth it to me. I'm not really out there like, you know, hey, check out my channel. You know what I'm saying? And if you're doing that, I'm not knocking you. I'm not knocking anybody that does that, because that's the way it is. But that ain't me. And the reason why it's not me is, again, because I am a little bit old-fashioned. I'm hoping that I've sort of laid out a groundwork a little bit about who I am, my history, so you can kind of understand why I am the way that I am. And when I first came to the internet, one of the things that attracted me the most was that the broadcast industry was not there yet. This is in the late 90s. They picked up pretty quick. There was a lot of people within the industry that saw what was coming, and they pushed for it. And even though a lot of the big people were wondering, is this just another flash in the pan, the internet that is, a lot of people thought that. We had, you know, broadband before the internet kind of failed. The CD-ROM was kind of a gimmick, you know, but it was a thing. And so people just looked at the internet like a gimmick. They didn't really think that, you know, it would be any integral part of their inventory systems and their fulfillment systems. And for that matter, oh my God, no, they wouldn't even want that in the first place, because why would they want to have the public able to look at their books, if you see what I'm saying? It was a scary time for a lot of people seeing this promise of the internet. Not for me, because I didn't own a business at the time, and I was just sort of a rebel running around without a clue. But what I'm getting at is that TV, you know, like the people that run TV, the people that make TV shows what they are, that make the news look the way that it looks, the way, you know, they pick the people with certain attitudes. You know, just a quick example, take a look at the stark difference in how news reporting happens in the 70s versus how it is delivered now. It's complete night and day. And what has happened in the past, you know, 10 years or so, slowly but surely, past 20 years possibly even, is these people that run the TV, you know, whoever they are, the executives, they've slowly been dictating how the internet looks, how the people on the internet are supposed to behave and present themselves. You know, you're supposed to have quick cut editing because people's attention spans are, you know, not there to actually pay attention to somebody making long pauses. They don't want that. Right? I mean, probably one of the reasons why you're watching this is because it is kind of chill. And I'm not constantly bombarding you with tons of images over and over and over again. Crazy loud music of all different kinds of genres. 5 different genres coming at you in 30 seconds. You know, and explosions. I don't know what to say, you know. I filtered that crap out starting in 1995. So I'm like, that's 26 years ago, man. That's how long I've been tuned out. And the last thing I want to do is, you know, make videos that are, hey, blah, 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 you know. I'm just not into that at all. I'm really digging the format that I have. It's just I'm making music. And the only reason why I'm really uploading this music to YouTube is because I am performing it live. You see, if you just well, first of all, if you just listen to my music, a lot of the stuff that I put out, some of it does play out like a finished track. You know, some of the ones that are around the 5-minute, even the ones around the 10-minute mark. But you know, inevitably there's always going to be a few sections here and there where I waffle about, and just, you know, things, you know, we could trim the fat out of those areas, but that's just it. How hard is it to take, you know, for me to take one of my 20-minute jams and to cut it down to some 5-minute thing? It's pretty easy. I would do that, but I still have, you know, I'm still striking while the iron is hot. I'm still just chucking out stuff, man. Just churning it out as much as I can, because I personally enjoy it. I really, really, really do. If I didn't have YouTube, I would still do this for myself anyways, but it would be different. I'm not sure if I would actually be more critical of myself or less critical, to tell you the truth. I might actually be more critical. I might actually perform more takes than I'm doing now. What I've kind of evolved to now, however, is getting away from doing takes. Let me back up a little bit. So in the past, and I'll still do this in the future, but let's say one of my traditional jams a couple of years ago, I would start with a few sequences, add some synthesizers, as, you know, a lot of times it would be like, okay, I want to add this synthesizer because I haven't used it in a while, or I want to try these two together for whatever reason because I just heard something. So I would always have plenty of reasons to throw synthesizers into the mix. And then once I would mess around and kind of practice, get an idea of where I wanted it to go, and also, more importantly, get to a point and say, like, okay, I'm here, but I need some more sequences. So I need to generate some more sequences. I need to figure out some more parts, and figure out how I'm going to put them into a track and get to that track when the time comes. And a lot of times I like to get myself into trouble, where, like, once the jam has been established and it's going relatively well, maybe it's time to, you know, end the jam. Instead of that, like, just go off into, like, space chaos kind of thing and see if I can get out of it. You know, it's kind of like Han Solo running the parsec or whatever that was, you know. I like that movie. It wasn't awesome, but it wasn't bad, you know. It could have, a few... casting wise, I think I might have not cast Daenerys, because, man, she looked, even with the black hair as a brunette, she still looked like the Dragon Queen from Game of Thrones. It was hard to not see her as that, you know. So I hate to say it, I wouldn't have cast her in the movie just because of that reason. They needed to make her look a lot different, you know. Mia Jovovich, by the way, does a very good job of looking different when she really wants to, but I'm getting off the beaten path. So once I would have an idea of the jam that I was doing, I would make sure that the audio was getting to Audacity on my computer correctly, and I would have the camera set up. And here's the hard part, was getting the angle. I mean, a lot of these videos that I'm shooting, the angles are just terrible, and I'm trying my best to get a straight angle straight on, but can't show you this. The stands that I use are not ideal. That is something I need to look into and invest in. So, okay, quick aside, I need to mention, I'm kind of proud of myself. while setting up the studio. I mean, it was already set up. I'm just resetting it up, you know. I have not needed to purchase anything new. Everything is working out just fine. And I'm actually optimizing it pretty well, so I'm ending up with some extra cables here and there, which is pretty nice. But the one thing I do need to look into purchasing are some camera stands. Yeah, just a way to get the cameras in the mix somehow. I'm still trying to solve that problem. And lighting. And I'll get some cool flashy lighting as time goes on, you know. Need to figure out how to power that stuff and get it into the mix. Not in the mix, but on the table around the synthesizers. So, but what I would do, back to what I was talking about, is you imagine you're the camera looking down at the gear. Above this camera, what you cannot see are the microphones. So I always have a drum machine, even if it's just my Pocket Operator PO12 drum machine, available. Sometimes I don't need a drum machine, but I need something with a sharp attack that I can trigger. And I'll hit it and snap my fingers. And I'll do that 2 times, 3 times in a row, twice. And this way, when I go back to make the video, I'm able to take the audio and to synchronize it based on those hits by looking at the audio of the video and the actual audio that I'm recording in. And I do all that with iMovie on my Mac because it's a free program. See, I'm very much an old traditional open source. I do not believe in paying for software, and I don't pirate software. I've learned how to use free software, free open source software. And it is a compromise and a sacrifice. When I need to purchase something, I will purchase something. I will bite the bullet and actually purchase something. But I believe in free software, and I believe in companies charging for services to use that software and to support that software. And that's the model that I believe that companies should take in you know, supporting their business. This licensing crap, buying a subscription, signing I got to rant for a second. What is wrong with you people? All these contracts that you sign for your phones, and you put up with all this crap that you pay for from all like your cable company. Stop paying for it. Show them who's the boss. You're the boss. And they're trying to make you think that you're not the boss. So yeah, that's part of the thing too. The reason why I mention that is because, you know, I feel when I see the overall community at YouTube, you're failing. You're failing at being strong individuals. You know, you're succeeding at being dependent collectivists. Is that really what you want? You just want to be an ant? You just want to be a bee? You don't have to be a queen or a king. That's in the past. You know, this notion of being a king or a queen. Why would you want to rule over anybody? Why would you want to tell somebody else what to do? I mean, how is that, you know what I'm saying? Really? That's what life is about, is exerting power over someone else? No, I don't think so. So there's a lot of opportunity here for, you know, YouTube creators to step it up, is what I'm saying. I think you guys should learn electronics if you don't already know it. Not just because I learned it. What I'm here to say is, I mean, you see, I don't want to make it seem like I'm super, super smart, even though I probably am, but no, it's not that. I'm not, really, seriously. I probably have a fairly high IQ, but who cares, right? IQ doesn't matter out on the streets. Doesn't matter out in the woods. You know what I'm saying? There's more to life than just being smart. But having said that, if you think you can't learn it, you can. Because I was the guy who could not learn electronics. Seriously, I was the guy who could not learn electronics. All during my audio engineering, audio production classes. Man, just whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. And if you don't understand electronics, I'm going to bet it's the same rough reason why. It's because you don't really understand what the audio signal really is. It's not sound. It's not sound. And the way that the audio signal is processed through the circuit, you probably got another notion of what's going on there too. You're thinking of like a car going through a car wash. You know, here's your audio signal. It's a car, and it's going through a car wash. And when it comes out, you got this clean car, but it's your car. And it's like, no, that's not really what happens. It's kind of close. Imagine instead that a copy of your car came out. This is the fun part. And I think, well, there's two things I would like to bust at some point. Astrology and audiophiles. But I don't want to, debunk anything out there necessarily. I mean, it's not my position to tell you what to believe. It's not. It's up to you to determine what are facts. And facts are facts. Okay? Facts are facts. You don't just make up facts. You don't just have facts because that's what you want. Facts are facts. And then below facts, well, actually right above facts is truth. And truth and axioms. So mathematical axioms, and then like truth, and then and then facts. And then what's next is science. So right now, what is being preached to people like a religion is that science is above facts. And that's not true at all. And that science is to be obeyed as an authority. That's not what science is. In fact, science is that thing that's always challenging authority. Always. That's the whole point of science, is that if I say something, if I present something as a theory, then I have to not only be able to prove it, but I have to be able to hand it off to the community and let them try to disprove it. So chew on that, YouTube. I mean, you can't fool the people all the time, YouTube. And where I'm going with this is that, I've been using YouTube lately because it's been beneficial to me. And it still is beneficial to me to use YouTube, to upload videos to YouTube. And I will continue to do so as long as it's beneficial to me. But the moment that it's not, I don't need you, YouTube. Okay? And to be quite frank, I feel like you've gone downhill since Google has acquired you. Oh, most definitely. Google has really, really done a horrible job in keeping YouTube okay. I can't completely say that it's done a horrible job of keeping YouTube a real truthful place to find things. You can still find great stuff here. But I've already seen a few science channels have their videos taken down. Mostly because of the recent events. But they were not doing anything. They were not violating your terms at all. They were employing science. And, you're a private company. You can do whatever you want. But we're private individuals. We can also do whatever we want. And we will go somewhere else. Don't you worry about that. I mean, where I go is where the fun is. And, YouTube was a lot of fun when I first came here. I was here when, you had the 10-minute limit restriction. And who were those people that ran YouTube back then? Back in 2007, 2008. Are any of y'all still here? Are y'all gone? See, there was another website called the Internet Movie Database. And it's still there. And there's a guy that I watch. His name is Jack Spirko. I doubt he's watching this. In the off chance that he would be watching this, I doubt it. Jack Spirko mentioned something about people getting mad at Facebook. All kinds of reasons to get mad at Facebook. And he was saying they were getting mad because they kept changing the user interface. And he said, well, that's not a good reason to get mad at Facebook. And well, Jack kind of is not seeing something right there. What he's not seeing is that all of these websites are moving towards cell phones. All the user interfaces are going towards cell phones. See, I was on the front line of the battle when cell phones first came out, and we were having to deal, we being internet companies, applications, whatever, websites, that we were having to publish our websites for traditional browsers, which all kinds of different issues there, and now for cell phones. So that's when things like Twitter Bootstrap came about, which is a great product. Really has nothing to do with Twitter other than it's their tool set that they developed for themselves, and they open source, and you and I can use it for free, and it's pretty great actually. What was neat about Twitter Bootstrap is that it provided a pretty cool solution for detecting if the user was using a browser or a cell phone, and you could deliver different shaped content, accordingly. Well, now everything is just going cell phone. I mean, if you go to your ATM machines, same thing. It's just one big giant cell phone display. Pretty soon there won't even be a keypad with the buttons anymore. It'll all just be touchscreen. You see what I'm saying? And yeah, the vast majority of y'all are just, maybe not y'all that I'm speaking to right now, but the people they don't have a clue and they don't care. Because nobody is out there telling them any different right now. Nobody's out, leading the cattle that they are in the right direction. They're going in the wrong direction, the direction that you are in with television broadcast, right? With your stupid commercials and your lying news anchors. Just a whole pack of lies when you look at television. We could talk about that another day, right? And that is where the internet is heading back. It's like they just pulled it right back in to where it is. And now it's up to you on which direction you want to go. I know which direction I'm heading. I'm heading towards freedom. And that's going to be new technologies. And I'm ready for them. Are you? Bye-bye, YouTube. See you next time.
俺と一緒になすか、ヒノキか